Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with 12rounder.com, here to give you the aftermath of the Bad Blood card that took place in London at the XL Arena, headlined by the heavyweight clash between Derek Chisora and Tyson Fury, a rematch from their 2011 bout won by Tyson Fury. There was also a couple of interesting undercard fights, and I'll get to those first before the main event. The first portion of the card, if you will, that was of major interest was the clash between unbeaten Liam Walsh and the veteran Gary Sykes. Interesting enough fight, a decent enough fight, but the overall class and levels of the fighters showed, and Walsh picked up a pretty interesting win, pretty good win, I should say, and it'll be interesting seeing him going forward. Of course, he's still in that tweener phase where he's probably a bit too good for most domestic foes, but isn't necessarily ready to be challenging for world claims at this point. That being said, it'll still be interesting to see him develop a bit more, and I'd like to see a bit more out of him, and I'm sure we'll be seeing that in the coming fights. Next fight that was of note that was interesting to me was obviously the fight between Frankie Gavin, once beaten in his last fight against Leonard Bundo, actually, and previously unbeaten Bradley Skeet. Skeet certainly had his moments, made it very interesting and very close, especially later on in the fight. However, I think it was his lack of power and the fact that a few of the rounds, let's put it this way, you could pretty much make an argument for the majority of the rounds in the fight going either way. Probably 8 of those rounds. Out of the remaining 4, you could make an argument that 2 were won by Skeet and 2 were won by Gavin. I think the 2 Gavin won were probably slightly more convincing. 2 of the earlier rounds, between the 2nd and 3rd and about the 5th or 6th round, you could make an argument that Gavin won his rounds clearer. Towards the end of it, it was mostly Skeet boxing well, jabbing well, making Gavin miss, and landing the occasional pot shot that looked good. However, never seemed to have his guy in trouble, doesn't have all that great a power, and for the most part he was backing up, which never looks great in the judge's eyes. It was a somewhat questionable decision. It was fairly close, but in the end, it felt like one of those fights where both guys had the right to complain and didn't at the same time. They had a right to complain in that whichever way it went, you could complain that it should have went your way. At the same time, the only person you should be complaining to is probably yourself, because if anyone had to do a bit more, it was you, no matter which guy you are in that situation. So, in the end, Gavin gets the nod in this case. Then in the co-featured bout of the evening, which turned out to be probably the most entertaining fight out of the major 4 of this event, unbeaten middleweights Billy Joe Saunders and Chris Eubank Jr., bitter rivals, battled it out, and for the first 5 rounds of this fight, it appeared as though Saunders was going to have his way with the less experienced, less technical Eubank. However, as the rounds wore on, Saunders, perhaps putting so much effort into being so good in the early stages, was getting a bit tired, and Eubank, the more prominent puncher of the pair, a lot of P's in that sentence, seemed to be getting into the fight a bit more and gaining a bit of ground. However, he was still too inexperienced and still too untechnical, if you will, with his shot selection, left himself off balance quite a bit, wasn't able to put full leverage on the shots, and ultimately Saunders was able to, with his experience and his savvy in the ring, was able to use angles, his jab, holding on the inside, and his overall movement, and effectively negate the late surge by Eubank, who probably came on a bit too late in the fight to begin with, because by that point, this being his first 12-round fight, Eubank seemed a bit winded himself and could really only fight in spurts. So, in the end, it was a split decision win for Saunders, and that probably seems fair to me. I would have went with unanimous decision. I had him winning 8-4, but that being said, it was a fight where late Eubank certainly made something of a case for himself, but I couldn't see him winning. Then the main event, it was a clear win for Tyson Fury. Fury was all but perfect in this fight. Didn't really get caught with much of anything of note. Made Chisora look clumsy and off balance at times. He negated everything Chisora wanted to do while he was coming forward, trying to cut off the ring, trying to bob and weave, trying to jab his way in, trying to hit the hooks, the right hand particularly around the guard, and he had virtually nothing in terms of success, that being Chisora. Fury was perfect with the jab. He switched it up, switched up the pace, the intent, he switched up the angle, he switched up the direction where it landed. It was just a perfect jabbing night, I should say, for Fury. And then he was careful with his selection of power shots, leaving a lot of people in attendance to boo, but as my rule has always said, you don't boo the guy that's killing the other guy, you boo the guy who's not doing a damn thing about it, and in this case that would be Chisora. Fury was spot perfect in this fight, and easily won and ultimately stopped a tiring, beaten down Chisora after 10 rounds of action. After the corner, Chisora opted to pull Letterman out, which was probably the right move, just about a round late, to be truthful. In any event, this potentially leaves guys like Saunders and Fury in the same position, really, here. Same thing with Gavin, for that matter. Probably too good for most of the domestic challenges you're going to face. But you're moving forward now, and you might not be quite ready for that world scene. In Fury's case, it's an easier choice. You got a potentially big money fight with Vladimir Klitschko there, and in all truth, in all seriousness, why would you go for anything else at this point? You've beaten a couple of contenders, you've remained undefeated, you've picked up a dominant stoppage win in Klitschko-like fashion in your last contest, and you'll probably get to beat up on some tomato can in February when he's expected to return. So why not just go for that big clash with the big money? Worst case scenario, which will probably happen, you lose, but so what? You'll have a lot more money in the bank with your first loss, and you can continue your career with that sort of, at the very least, that sort of fight on your resume. It's never a bad look. Saunders, on the other hand, could be facing the winner of Matt Korobov versus Andy Lee, a fight that does seem, in all honesty, maybe a step or two ahead of where Saunders is at this point. But that being said, where else would he go on the domestic stage? At this point, he's beaten a guy like Jared Fletcher. He's beaten a guy now in Chris Eubank Jr., and Blackwell he's also taken care of. John Ryder he's taken care of. At this point, it seems as though he's in a situation where he's got to bide some time, hopefully grow a bit more into his middleweight body. He was putting some decent shots together in this fight, and hopefully improve on, just fine-tuning his array of skills at this point. Gavin, on the other hand, is in a weird position. He's a very slick fighter when he's at his best. He seems better than most at the domestic stage, but at the same time, is he ready for the world stage? And maybe more accurate a question, does he have enough power to keep guys off that aren't going to be tricked by the tricks? And it's a tough one to ask. In Leonard Bundu's case, no. But at the same time, what has he learned from that fight? It was difficult because it was such a dramatically different opponent in Skeet to determine how much he did learn, but at the very least, he didn't seem all that flustered in deep waters in this fight when he sort of needed the 11th or 12th round and ended up pulling out the 12th at the very least. It's one of those things where it's hard to say where they're going to go, but at the very least, picked up some quality wins in fights they probably should have won. All three were actually slight betting favorites for the most part, although Saunders was a very close call on some books. Nonetheless, be interesting to see them going forward. Tell me your thoughts, where they're going to be going from here, what would you like to see, so on and so forth from these fighters, and love to hear it in the comments section below or on Twitter at 12RounderBoxing. Please be sure to share, follow, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. Got plenty of other videos coming forward and a couple other things I want you guys to check out for. So, until next time, enjoy the fights.